Hello, everyone. Hopefully, you're having a good start to your Friday. The weekend is almost here, but we have some important things to do before then today. Thank you for joining us. Today's broadcast will be a part of Black History Month, which is a really important time where we really focus and reflect on our history and culture. So that's what today's going to be focusing on. Today's talk is titled Owning Our Past, Leading Our Future. Before we get on to that though, just a little bit of housekeeping. We do have a Q&A box that's open that's going to happen a little bit later on. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask our speaker today, please do ask those in our Q&A box. Depending on what device you're using, you might have to scroll down a little bit to be able to see it, but it's just underneath the stream on your screens. If you find yourself having any sort of trouble today, please do also let us know via that Q&A box, and one of our moderators will be on hand to help where we can. The final bit of housekeeping that we have for today's session is that we do have a little bit of a quiz. Now, the quiz is built into that box. It will pop up in the Q&A box when it's ready and when we're going to do that. But for those of you who don't have technology to hand, I would suggest a little bit of a pen or a paper, and you can do it out by then. It's not a very long one. It's not, it's fairly easy, but hopefully you enjoy it. I'm quite excited for it, that's for sure. But moving on to the main event today, everybody, please can you welcome our fabulous speaker who does lots for us here at Speakers for Schools, and we're very thankful that she's here with us today. Please welcome Brandie. Hello.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. And hello, everybody. It is an absolute pleasure to be spending the next few minutes with you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We'll start off with a little bit of an interview then for you, Brandie, and I've got a couple of questions to ask that are all about this sort of importance of leadership. I'm going to start off with this one because I think it's really sort of a nice entry. So, why is it important to motivate and inspire others, even if you might not be in a leadership role?
Thank you. But before I answer that question, can I just say thank you for Speakers for Schools for making this happen year on year on year. And once again, thank you all for your time today. Okay, so your question to me was why it's important to motivate and inspire others, and why do we do it even when we're not in leadership roles? Well, when I think about leadership, there's a cluster of things that I think about. I think about a set of mindsets and behaviors. And then I also think about aligning people. And I also think about working together. So if you think about those three boxes in isolation, for me, leadership is a set of mindsets and behaviors that aligns people in a collective direction and enables us all to work together within the shared goal. So that's essentially what leadership is about. So when you think about the second part of your question around, why do we need to even stay close to it when we're not in a leadership role? So you don't have to be a leader to have the right mindset and behaviors, which was the first round box that I can explain. Because we all know right and wrong, and we choose our behaviors and our mindsets. So we don't have to be leaders to do that. We don't have to be a leader actually to motivate and inspire either. Because what you do is you align people, and you, through your enthusiasm and your excitement, you inspire people, and you don't need to be a leader to do that. And in terms of being supportive and solving problems together, we can all do that, seeking different perspectives. We can all do that, and bringing everybody together. We can all do it even if we're not in leadership roles. One really important thing though, we're all leaders because we wake up each morning, we get ourselves to school, we get ourselves to work, whatever it is we have to do, we lead ourselves in so many ways every day. So we're all unconfirmed leaders, and I think that's really important.
I like that phrase, unconfirmed leaders. I think it's a nice way to think about yourself, right? The potentially to do it, and you can do it even if you're not really.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I like it. Okay, our next question then, that's still around the topic of leadership. How can leadership skills help us personally, and what can we do to develop them?
Mm. It's a really good question, actually, because there's a bit around how does it help us personally, and then what can we do to develop them. So I guess if I can do this in some tips. So when I think about your question now, I've got maybe sort of 5 tips that I can give that we can all either start doing it or continue doing. So if we've already started some of these tips, that's great. Just carry on. If we haven't started, maybe we need to start. So thinking through start and continue, the tips that I can give to help us all is one, if we are already practicing compassion, let's carry on doing that. If we haven't, let's start it, because actually it is a really important leadership skill. Daily rituals of kindness and compassion is really important in leadership, because you tend to work with people, around people, and so my first tip will be practice compassion, continue or start, if you haven't already started. My second one will be consistency. I've always believed the consistency is what transformed us from being average to excellence. So when you're averaging certain things, or there's certain things that you're not too keen on, or whatever the situation is, if you're consistent with it, you become a little bit better, and then it gets you into excellence. And so consistency is a really important leadership skill. Um, and you can take it away with you as well. So that's the second tip. I think my third tip would be trust. In leadership, you're working with a lot of people. In real life, we're around a lot of people. In schools and colleges, we're around a lot of people. And we've got to trust, right? You've got to trust yourself. And you've got to also trust the process, whatever process you're in, whether it's an educational process, it's a work process, it's a friendship process, whatever process you're in, you've got to trust it. And you've got to trust others as well. So my tip is to start or continue trusting, and start everything from the point of trust, because you go into it slightly differently and you come out slightly differently if you start from the point of trust. So that's my third tip. Fourth tip, which is a very important leadership skill, is vision. So, having a clear vision in my little mind, because I've got a little mind, it's a plan. Having a clear plan, backing it up with wanting to do something, gives you that confidence. And it doesn't have to be a big plan, it can be a very small plan, like what you're going to be doing next week, or how you need to structure your homework, or whatever it is you want to do. That is a vision. So having that clear plan gives you confidence that that plan will be delivered. So I think that is a really cool skill that one needs. And of course, in leadership, you've got to have a vision, right, to get people engaged. And then the fifth and final one is being organized. Now, I'm not great at this, so I'm consistent. It's a continuous learning process for me, but being organized is a journey. It's not a destination. So if you haven't started, then you can start learning to get organized. If you're already very organized, unlike me, then you can continue learning, and continue going on to that destination. So those 5 tips, you can either start or continue. So practicing compassion, thinking through consistency, trust was my third one, vision was the fourth one, and being organized is the fifth tip that I can give.
I like that as a tip. And I also like that you said that you're not so good at organization, because it shows that even though they are tips, everyone can still be working on them, right? And you don't have to be perfect on them. They just help to achieve that sort of strong leadership values. Yeah.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. I'm just really rubbish at it. So, yeah, I'm sure that you're perfect at it, though, or you're very good at it, right? Are you really good at organizing, or are you also in the
Oh,
journey of continuing?
I would say that I am definitely good at organizing. Organizing is one of my strong suits.
Perfect.
Yeah. Maybe to my detriment though. Maybe I organise too much,
I
Brandie.
like it. I'll learn a thing or two from you.
Um, yeah, love it. Our next question then, which is again thinking about leadership, but it's a little bit more personal to you, I think. How do you balance all the leadership roles? You have lots of leadership roles. You're a CEO. You're a mom. How do you manage with all those different sorts of types of leadership roles that you have and not get overwhelmed? Because I think I would.
Right, it's a really interesting and very important question actually, because you're right. I have a day job. I'm also a mum, which is like another job. So I like the fact that you classified it as a leadership role and a leadership job, because being a mum is you get to get some organizing going, and we just talked about being organized. I'm also I hold a couple of non-exec director roles in other organization. I'm also an auntie to lots of young women, which I take very, very seriously. I'm also a female cousin. I've got quite a lot of female cousins, and I take that really seriously. I'm also a girlfriend. I've got lots of girlfriends, and I like being around my friends. I'm also a wife. I'm also a mentor to many, many, many people, and I'm also a mentee. So a lot, and I'm also a fun kind of person, which is like a really important job as well. Having fun is quite difficult to do. You got to plan it, and so yes. But firstly, I have to say though, I do get overwhelmed. So I haven't worked out how to be superwoman yet. I do get overwhelmed. But what I have done though is I have learned over the years to balance. I have learned also that actually balancing is not something that I can find. It's something that I can create. So I've created a few things around me, a bit like scaffolding, um, to allow me to be able to balance well, to be able to do what I do as much as I can do it. And there's four things that I have created around me, my scaffold, my arm, to allow me to be able to balance as much as I can. The first one is I am very good at stopping when I have to stop. I'm not afraid to stop. So, I can leave work in the office. I can stop doing anything if I feel I'm getting overwhelmed, because I can feel it coming. I can when I'm getting overwhelmed. So I'm very good at stopping, leaving work, stopping what I'm doing, pausing for a minute. I think that's really important. So that's the first thing that I've built around me to help me to balance. The second is that I make time for me. I mean, everybody that we all like, love, admire, we would not treat them badly, would we? So why would I treat myself badly? So I make sure that there's self-care. So I do a lot of reading. I enjoy reading, so I do that when I have a moment, or I can make time for reading. I spend a little bit of time at the gym. You won't notice it, but I spend a bit of time at the gym because I love the environment and what it gives me. I love weekends, Charlie. Weekends are my thing. I love weekends because I'm not at work and I have 2 full days where I can do whatever I want. So I enjoy those. So making that weekend time is really important. I love to travel. I love solo travel. I love traveling with the family if they're listening. But I also love traveling on my own, just being on my own. I love it. I love spending time with me. I love spending time with young people, like what we're doing today for me. It's a chill moment. I love doing that. I love being around family. And I'm also really happy doing nothing. So making time for me is really important. I think the third thing that I've put around me, scaffold that I've put around me, is I actually do understand that there is no perfect balance. It is not possible for everything around me to be working all the time. So it's okay if certain things drop. It really is okay. And I've got myself in that situation where I am quite comfortable with that. The final scaffold that I've got around me to help me balance is I have detox days and weekends. Believe you me, I have 2 phones, they buzz, I've got reminders everywhere, I've got notifications. It can be too much for me. So I do have days where I switch my phone off, I leave it in my bag at home purposely, and I take myself out for a walk. And I just go and walk, or walk in the rain, or do whatever I want to do within my own parameters. So it's really important for me that I am working around those parameters, because they help me balance. And when I feel balanced, then I feel that I'm able to do all the things that we talked about that I do in a very calm manner.
I think you raised some amazing points there. And I think that's such a skill. Like the first thing you said is that you know when to say no and you know when to stop. That is so hard to do. Sometimes knowing I need to take a break now when you're like stressing over an exam or a piece of work you have to finish can be so difficult. And it's so good that that's a skill that you've developed to help you be a strong leader because it's very difficult.
It really is. And I think one tip, though, that I can give you that, Charlie, is it's really helpful if you actually ask. So, you just say to somebody that's next to you, do you mind if I just stop for a moment? And you'll be amazed how many people go, yeah, of course. Take your time, take your time. We assume too much of ourselves sometimes, I think. If you ask, do you mind if I just pause on this? The answer is normally yes, of course, go ahead.
Yeah, we forget that other people are human as well and they understand, don't they?
Absolutely, we do. We do.
Mhm. So I'm going to go for a little bit of a switch now in our topics and start thinking about the part of today's title called Owning Our Past, um, and have a little bit of a reflection on what that means.
So I love this. I really do. And actually, words cannot actually express how much I reflect on this. So I thought the best way to do this is to just go through a quiz. And I think after we've gone through the quiz, it will be very clear how much owning our past really means to me. I just don't have the words to express it, to get it across and do it justice, if that makes sense. So, do you mind if we go ahead and do a quiz to see if we can capture our past, which allows us to go forward?
Of course, very excited for this. So, as Brandie says, we have a little bit of a quiz. Now, the quiz will appear in the Slido box that's in the Q&A. You should see it now, and it's going to ask you to join. So we'll give you a couple of seconds to join. Now, if you don't have access to that Q&A box, or there's more of you in a group, then you can either do it together or get a pen and paper and do it on that. It's a very short quiz. We have 4 questions. So you don't have to worry about doing lots. You could even remember it if you want to. Shout out, put your hands up, and be honest. No cheating. Don't change your answers. And we'll do it that way. But just giving you a couple of seconds for those who have access and can join the Slido to join that Slido. It might be on a different tab, so make sure you're looking at the tabs in the Q&A box to join. And as we wait for you to join, I'm just going to play a little bit of music as we give you a minute or so. All right, just about 30 more seconds and then I'll start the quiz. Great to see some participants rolling in, Brandie.
I'm enjoying the music.
It's nice to have a moment to just relax during a broadcast, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
Okay, so the way this is going to work is it's going to be a multiple choice quiz. So we'll go with the question. I'll read the question out. We'll give you some time to answer A, B, C, or D. And then afterwards we'll reveal the answer as we go along. And for those doing on pen and paper, hopefully we give you enough time. That's the aim of the game. All right. So, shall we start with our first question then? Here we go. So our first question is, can you name the first Black British woman MP and their significant contributions to politics? So we're looking for the name of the first Black British woman MP, and we're really thinking about what their sort of contributions might have been. That's not on the quiz, but take a reflection, and we'll give you a couple of seconds to have a go at completing that. I'm going to take a sip of water. Take my time now. All right, just a couple more people to put their answers in. Remember, don't Google, go off instinct.
Okay, and I'm going to drum roll. Don't know if we can hear it because the answer is about to pop. And the answer is Diane Abbott. So Diane Abbott is a Labour politician. She is the MP for Hackney and Stoke Newington. She has been since 1997. She is the first Black woman elected to Parliament and the longest serving Black MP. She was born to Jamaican parents and is currently considered as the mother of the house, which is the name that's given to the longest serving female MP. Hopefully that question shares with you how I feel about the contribution that some of the people that came before me, before the generation after me, have made to one part of our fabric, which is politics. Thank you.
Wonderful. So we're moving on to our next question then. So our next question is, which Black British author won the Booker Prize by exploring themes of identity and race in their work? Okay. So I like this one. I love authors, love reading. I guess you do too.
I do, absolutely.
Good. We love a little bit of reading, and I'll read out our A, B, C, and D options. So we've got Mallory Blackman, Bernadine
Evaristo.
Thank you, Brandie. Appreciate that one. Mike Gale and Benjamin
Zephaniah.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's great to have someone on hand who can actually interpret sounds very easily. All right, so there are 4 options. I can see people rolling in now with the votes. It's quite exciting, this.
It is, isn't it?
I'm enjoying it. We'll just give them 30 more seconds. A, B, C, or D. What answer do you think it is? Mallory, Bernadine, Mike, or Benjamin?
Shall I drum roll, Charlie?
You can drum roll.
Drum roll. I'm not even sure if the drum roll is coming out. There you go. And the answer is B, Bernadine Evaristo. Bernadine is a Black British author and an academic. In 2019, she won the Booker Prize Award, making her the first Black woman to win the Booker. She has received more than 77 honors, awards, fellowships, nominations, and other tokens of recognition. She is the professor of creative writing at Brunel University. So if you live near there, go and find her. And she is the president of the Royal Society of Literature. Hopefully, most of you got it, but this question for me answers a bit around identity and how some of our amazing authors have made contributions in some aspects of our society. And if you love books and love authors and love reading, that one was for you. Thank you.
Awesome. So on to our third question out of our four. We've got one more after this one. Our third question is, and it should have appeared for you now, can you name a Black British scientist who has made significant contributions to their field? Everyone loves a scientist, so here we go. We have A, which is Maggie Aderin Pocock. Hope I said that right. Then we have B, Stephen Hawkins. We have C, Nancy Rothwell. And D, Shankar
Balasubramanian.
Thank you. Appreciate all the options, A, B, C, or D. I can see our questions coming in now. Again, we'll give you 30 more seconds or so to get your answer. Hopefully all those that are doing it on pen and paper are having a good go. A, B, C, or D for this one. And if you don't know, remember, it's one, you got 25% chance of getting it right. 1 in 4. Bit of maths.
Yep. And drum rolling. And the answer is Maggie Aderin Pocock, Dame Maggie to some of us. She is a British space scientist, bet you didn't know that, and a science educator. Since 2014, she has presented Sky at Night, which is a long-running astrological TV program. She's the first Black woman to win a gold medal in the Physics News Award, and has served as the president of British Science Association. Hopefully most of you got A, Dame Maggie, right. I mean, I love this question because we talk about STEM a lot. We talk about how it's sometimes a real challenge to especially get women in STEM. But actually, if you break that down and you go into Black in STEM, it actually becomes smaller as well. So it kind of goes that way and it funnels out really, really tiny. So love the fact that we got this role model. And for me, that answers that question around a significant contribution in the science world for Black History Month. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really great to look at scientists and think, we need more women, more Black women. We need more representation within this sort of STEM industry. And it's good that we can see people that are already in it and we can look at our past and go, yeah, that's someone, I want to be like them. So role models are so important, aren't they?
I couldn't agree more. Absolutely.
Our next question then is...
That's my favourite one, this one.
Oh, is it? Good. This is our final question. So name 2 prominent Black figures in British sports who have used their platform for activism. So it's not just about our sports heroes, it's about those who do a little bit of activism as well. And for our options, we have A, Linford Christie and Nicola Adams. For B, we have Anthony Joshua and Kelly Holmes. For C, we have Shirley Bassey and Naomi Campbell. And then for D, we have Marcus Rashford and Lewis Hamilton. So who is this going to be? A, B, C, or D? And again, I'll give you a few more seconds to have a little guess on the 2 Black British sports figures that use their platform for activism. All right, we're ready for the final question. Answers of.
Okay. Shall I roll and reveal?
Please.
Yeah. Drum roll, and the answer is D. Marcus Rashford and Lewis Hamilton. I hope everyone got this correct. I hope so. Fingers crossed. Lewis Hamilton, as we all know, is a British racing driver in Formula One. Currently drives for Mercedes, holds records of the most wins, most pole positions, a whopping 201 podium finishes. You know the bit where they stand there and they pop that champagne. 201 times, can you believe it? Born in Stevenage, he joined the McLaren Young Drivers Program, I think in 1988, and has been named one of 100 most influential people globally across the world. And the platform that he uses it to heighten racial injustice, to promote diversity, and to advocate for human rights. His companion is Marcus Rashford, who is a footballer. Hopefully, we all have heard of him. Plays forwards in the Premier League. Currently plays for Man United. In 2016, he was the youngest English player to score in his first senior team. He plays for England. He played for England in 2018, 2022, and in the FIFA World Cup. His platform, he's used it for homelessness and child hunger and anti-racism in the UK. Hopefully you all got the correct, but for me, that question answers the fact that even the next generation, because Marcus and Lewis are the generation down, are using their fame and platform to support aspects of our society and our community that we want to spotlight on. So good for them. And thank you all for taking part. Over to you, Charlie.
Yeah, loved it. Really fun. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the quiz as well. Well done for all of you for taking part. Hopefully, you're all being honest for those that did it on pen and paper and we can't see, and you enjoyed that as well. So we're going to move on to a couple more questions before we get to our student Q&A. So this is a time now where we're going to ask a little bit about a little bit more on leadership. So doing a little bit of a leadership sandwich and thinking about sort of leading our future. So this penultimate question before we move on to student Q&A is, how do you think social media and digital platforms will influence leadership styles and communications in the future?
Oh, what a brilliant question. Well, social media and digital platforms, I think, will continue to provide a powerful tool to leaders to amplify their voices because of the range. It will allow us to continue to connect to a wider audience and for people to establish themselves in different fields. It's so easier now. I think with the progress and the growth of hybrid workforce, social media and digital platforms are helping with connectivity and with reach and with comms, which is amazing. I think they're going to continue to be very timely. So what I find that will be happening, has already happened and will continue happening, is we're going to have on-time messaging, on-demand messaging, on-point messaging, and all at scale. Of course, the flip side is that because the world is going to be on demand, how do we then deplug and unplug ourselves sometimes from the on-time messaging and on-demand messaging that leadership is bringing? And I think from a collaborative perspective, it's really cool because it's going to take advantage, it already has, but it's going to continue to take advantage of the connection and the collaboration that we can do from being all around the world globally and also nationally to help us collaborate more because the potential of collective intelligence is priceless, you know, where everybody else is thinking, no matter where you are, can bring it together on time, on demand to discuss big issues is just absolutely priceless. So I think it's going to continue to shape our future. So watch this space is what I say.
Definitely. Who knows where we might go? And it can be quite interesting to think about it and kind of have a wonder on what that might look like. So yeah, I love it. Our final question then before we move on to our student questions is how can young people support in the shaping of the future of leadership?
Oh, that's another really good question. I think young people can support by unlocking the power of youth. I think we sometimes underestimate the power of youth. We've got to empower young people to do all the brilliance, to bring out all the brilliance that they have in them. I think we've got to start using young people as role models as well. You know, you don't have to be a role model when you're as old as me. There are a lot of young role models, as we've actually done in our quiz and realized that we use generations actually to showcase role models. So I think we need to do those three things: really empowering the youth, really empowering young people, and then also using them as role models. But there's two big deals here for me, actually. Two things that for me are really big keys. The first one is the speed of change itself. Change is so fast these days. And yet the modes of leadership that we have were designed years ago, and they don't actually match the speed that we currently need. And so the answer now is to use the generation that have grown up with this speed to help us to partnership and collaborate. So things like reverse mentoring, things like having focus groups where young people sit in to give their advice, things like giving access to spaces that traditionally young people wouldn't be able to be, are all really good ways to use this generation to match the speed that's coming with leadership. So, if there's any of you here that want to look at mentoring somebody that's a little bit more older than you, senior than you, more developed than you, then look into it and do it. I encourage you to look out for focus groups and sit on them because your opinion really matters. And if there's any spaces that you think you can't really reach these spaces, ask to be allowed to enter those spaces and give your voice. So that's the big deal for me around the speed of change, big deal one. The second and final big deal for me is the bit around the what I call the delusion of precision. So we sometimes try to strive for perfection because we think that we can be precise in everything. Yet everyone goes to school or goes to work, whether the conditions are perfect or not. So this is where young people come in. I think young people can help to chart and bring reality into leadership where we think precision is where it should be. So they can just help us to just flow the rhythm because it can't always be perfect. But I think when you're a bit younger, young people get it. I think sometimes when you're a little bit older, you kind of forget the fact that it's okay to not be deluded that precision is always going to be there. I think the solution is there for young people to join boards. Young people can sit on boards. It's called young boards. So if it's something that you're interested in, I would say look into it. There's also so you can bring reality to the leadership, people that sat around the table. There's also the fact that people in power and leadership can actually share power with young people as well. So people in leadership can invite you to be a part of something that they're doing, or to just be a fly on the wall, to listen into a podcast, whatever it is that would work for you to bring your opinions in as young people. I think is really important. And so I think that, long are the days where the ability to be perfect was always strived for. It has been very different now. So we've got to share power a bit more, and then bring young people into some of the things that we do. So I think two things there for me. We've got to unlock power of youth, and then we just got to get over the delusion that precision is where it has to be, and bring young people in the fold in making it a very perfect place for everybody. Perfect, quote unquote, because perfectness isn't, is that a word? Perfect isn't actually doesn't actually happen. And then bring young people into the world of leadership, and to help us future proof leadership, because it is going to be very different. How I was led is definitely not how I lead now, and definitely not what the next generation are looking for in leadership.
Yeah, definitely some interesting points there. And I'm going to dive straight into our Q&A so we can get as many questions answered as we can before our time runs out. And I'm going to start with this first question that's come from Parkside Studio College. And they've asked several questions, all of them really interesting, but I'm going to start with this one, which is how does a strong understanding of one's past prepare you for the future?
Good question. Which school was that? Let's give them a big thumbs up. Whatever school that was. That was brilliant. That the question came from there. Um, Identity is so important, isn't it? And we all see identity as different ways. For some people, identity is the environment that they're in. For some people, identity means where they've grown up. For some people, it's the food they eat, the people they're around, whatever. And so I think being very confident around your own identity allows you, because the world, believe it or not, goes a bit like that. It's very undulating as you're growing up, lots of challenges. And so being grounded in your own identity carries you through when there's challenges, when you're a bit confused. It just grounds you and bring it to you. So the answer there for me is staying close to your own identity, whatever identity means to you.
Definitely. I think identity is something that it may take a little bit to understand what your identity is, but once you have, it should be woven into the things you do quite naturally.
Agree. Agree.
Um, okay then. Um, as a follow-up, actually no, you touched on that one there, so that's okay. Thank you for Parkside Studio College for answering that question. Really helpful, really interesting, definitely a good one. We have this next question then. Um, that has come in anonymously, so I don't know who sent this one in. Um, and it's, oh no, you touched on that one, so let's go. Ooh. Okay, let's go for this one. This is quite a nice one. Um, how do you approach decision making when under pressure?
Oh, I like that. I like that. I just start where I am with what I've got. Um, and stay slightly grounded, because in making decisions we've got to stay grounded. You cannot waver. So I start with whatever I've got, where I am. I use a little bit of data if there is data around. I use a little bit of gut, which is how I feel about the whole situation. I use a lot of questioning, and I ask a lot of people's opinions. So these four things allows me to make decisions, staying really grounded, making sure that I'm not wavering to the pressure that's around me, and then I just go for it. But more importantly, I'm okay if that decision doesn't quite work out and it fails, because that failure allows me next time to position the decision slightly differently. I learn from it. So I have grown to, and I would urge you to do that, grown to be okay with failure and okay with decisions that go wrong, because so many of my decisions have gone wrong. And I'm the first to go, my bad, my decision failed, but what is the learning that comes with it? That's the most important thing, I think.
Definitely. We can't grow without learning from our mistakes.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely. Absolutely.
This next question then is quite interesting and I really like it. It's what kind of legacy do you hope to leave as a Black leader?
Oh, it's about progress for me, not perfection. So for me, it is about doing what I can. Now, every my soft legacy, because I don't think I can leave a hard legacy. It's a really soft legacy, soft shadows. My soft legacy is I want to be the role model that I never had. So everything I do, everyone that I associate with, everything I say, I've got to think it through, because somebody else is out there looking at me thinking, whoa, I wish I could do that. Whoa, I heard that. I'm going to try it. But for me, it's about progress, not perfection. So as long as I live, will do the little that I can do every day, every day, to ensure that I am paying it forward, because I can't pay it back to all those that contributed to me being here. All I can do is pay it forward, which is why days like this are so cool.
Definitely. We're quickly heading to the end of our time now, Brandie. So I'm going to do one last question and then we have to look to closing down. So we have a question here, which is what advice would you give for Black students who aspire to be leaders but might not see many role models? And I'm really glad that we had a look at some role models, but we know that it can be quite difficult in different areas and in different industries to find a role model who is looking and like you and comes from where you do. And you might have trouble to find people currently in leadership. So I do like this question. What advice would you have for someone who wants to go in industry and might not see someone who reflects themselves already within there?
I also like that question. I really do. So come closer and then hear me. There is no limit to what you can do. There really is no limit to what you can do. And so if you've got closer to the screen, hear it again. There is no limit to what you can do. And that's the advice I can give you. Never say never. To keep going, and there is no limit to what you can do. And keep telling yourself that.
Yeah, you never know. You might be the role model that you wished that you'd had when you'd started in whatever industry that might be. And
Absolutely.
people might be looking at you in 20 years' time and going, that's what I want to do. So, yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. And start with there is no limit. Tell yourself every day there is no limit to what you can do. And if you do that, then you will be the role model that you wish to see. So yeah, keep going. Keep going.
all right, Brandie, thank you for joining us today. It's been so wonderful having you on. I loved our talks around leadership, our thoughts on all the different sort of Black role models we've had through, science to literature. It's been really great and lots of great questions that have come in. So thank you for kind of giving up your time and talking with us today. It's been wonderful having you on.
Charlie, thank you for having me, and thank you to everybody that has spent the last hour with you. We appreciate you, and thank you for Speakers for Schools for making this happen. And I wish you, all of you, nothing but the very best. And when you're as old as I am, come back and do this for Speakers for Schools. But thank you for having me, Charlie.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for taking part in our special quiz. It's been great hearing from you. All right, everyone. That's it from us now. Hopefully, we'll see you next time. Bye bye.